Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is interviewing Dilly Naidu, the Director of Business Development at Rifle Shot Performance, a business performance company. Dilly, let's begin with one of the great missing needs of South Africa, exploration. How can South Africa get mineral exploration and investment going in this country, as well as happens in other mining jurisdictions?
Martin, thanks for having me. So if we just backtrack and we look at the experience that I've personally had in the mining sector, both locally as well as Africa and globally, my experience has been that mining sector is a challenging sector. It is tough, right from the funding side to convince investment. It is challenging from an operations perspective. It is challenging from the policies at various government levels. And it's also challenging from a labor perspective. So that's generally from the challenges in the mining sector from a funding perspective. But when we look at South Africa, over 100 years ago, that's over a century. If you look at the funders and the initiation that's taken place, which came largely from British investment into South Africa, which grew into the gold mining and diamonds business by the Anglo-American Corporation. And that was from an exploration perspective to go and say, there is an opportunity in South Africa. How do we convince the funders and investors to come and look initially at gold and diamond minings? And that made a major contribution to South Africa in terms of driving innovation, driving manufacturing, creating skills and job opportunities.
So how do we now get it going again? How do we get people keen to come in here and invest? There seems to be a no-brainer with regard to exploration, but we haven't got a cadastre. What do we do now to get investment going?
Yeah, it is, from a personal perspective, again, it is a big concern. I'm a passionate South African, and I'm a passionate mining industry sector person who believes that the mining sector, if we invest in exploration for long-term sustainability, can be a tremendous contributor to the GDP of our country. So again, if we look at from a global perspective, our understanding is there's approximately 5% of capex in mining that's going into exploration, that's looking at new opportunities, new minerals, and some of the new renewable energy opportunities that's driving new minerals resources. If we look at South Africa, we've done a dismal job in terms of investment of capex into exploration. My understanding, it's less than 1%. To be exact, it's 0.75%. So clearly there is a big need to move and convince funders to invest in the exploration sector. Now that's easier said than done. If we look at from an investment perspective in exploration, we now have global challenges and African challenges from an investment exploration perspective. In South Africa, despite the challenges in countries like DRC, investors are grudgingly investing in terms of new commodities in areas like DRC. If you look at globally in South America, Canada, Australia, and even Asian countries, investors are investing in those countries. So there is an appetite to invest, generally speaking, if globally there's 5%. So what's the issue? Why are they not investing in South Africa? If truth be told, I think we need to, via our South African government, firstly create an environment of investor-friendly policies so that investors globally and locally could say, oh, I have a return on my investment, and I am guaranteed that there's always been the threat around the mining sector, around the world, in terms of potential for nationalization of minerals, because most countries actually believes that the minerals is the wealth of the citizens of the country and the country themselves. So that's the first thing in terms of creating an environment that is investor friendly through policy certainty. So that will also drive opportunities for innovation. And innovation, if you look at South Africa over the last 100 years, I love this term from the Afrikaner community called a Boeremarke plan. And you could see with even the narrow cause, very deep gold mining, the innovation that was created over the years and have been exported to other geographies around the world. So there is no doubt that once you create that environment, you start exploration, you will start creating innovation, and you will create subsidiary industries across the value chain for manufacturing.
What do we do now about the energy situation and all the load shedding and load curtailment, as they call it in mining? We've got to get past that first. And how are we going to do that?
Yeah, so again, we can learn from history. Again, if you look at South Africa and the giants like the Eskom that has been created, that's currently producing something like 46,000 megawatts. Granted, Eskom, as the primary supplier of energy in South Africa, is under tremendous pressure. And that pressure is self-inflicted. Again, it was because it's a parastatal, it's a state-owned enterprise, there's not been recognition and investments in the maintenance, as well as seriously looking at the mix, energy mix of fossil fuels as well as renewables. So that has set us back. However, if you look at the mining sector is already making huge investments in the energy sector to supplement the Eskom grid. And they've also figured out that Eskom over the last decade has increased the price of energy by over 500%. And the stats tells me, based on the mining industry sector, that they could produce, when all is said and done with their own energy needs, can produce energy more cost effective for the future compared to Eskom. So the Eskom challenge will be with us for a while. There is great recognition for it. From an investor perspective, obviously it's an elephant in the room. It is a big issue. So Eskom is a big issue. The other issue, Martin, is obviously the logistics and transportation issue. As you know, we are dependent in the country with Transnet Rail in terms of getting the commodities to our ports for export. And that is a huge challenge. The other is, other than the rail, is the ports itself. So those are key areas. The energy area is a key focus area to satisfy investors that this is something that is going to be worked on seriously. And we've heard some announcements from Transnet and Eskom in terms of independent power producers in the electricity side, as well as Transnet looking at strategic partnerships from the private sector who have the experience in terms of rail as well as ports.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Dilli Naidu, the Director of Business Development at Rifle Shot Performance.